In the early days of my commencing on YouTube channels, some 15 years ago now, many things were very new to me, and I'd just started to meditate. I'd recently took a course in hypnotherapy. I was practicing out-of-body excursions, and I was looking into a lot of the YouTube stuff, you know, in the initial stages when we go down the rabbit hole, and we're looking into the Illuminati and the Nephilim and the Anunnaki, and the Biru and the Masons, and, you know, Flat Earth, you name it, all that stuff. And because it was so new and so wild, it was so bewildering, then you know, I was compelled to speak about it. And there was many people that were discovering those sort of things at that time. And you know, I think 15 years ago was really the sort of the heyday of all this different sorts of stuff. The law of attraction and how we create our own reality, and you know, how we contact spirit, and how we evolve and how we awaken, and, you know, what is enlightenment, and a whole billion subject matter. And it was fascinating and it was great. And whilst I was doing that, putting up videos, then of course I attracted lots of people who were at that time, you know, all milling around, and there weren't that many of us really, to be fair. We very quickly, you know, got to know you know, each other. And that commenced the heyday of the Awakened Brave, and I would offer people to come on to do Skype chats at that stage, and then Zoom chats, and you know, now I still, you know, use the similar sort of facility, Google Meet. But I recorded hundreds of chats of like 2 or 3 hours long with people from all over the world, and we had a nice little community going, and, you know, I had about 20,000 subscribers, and so there was a lot of interaction, and my videos used to get vastly more hits because I hadn't been banned then. You know, one of my hits on transcendental meditation had over 250,000 hits, and there was another video of me smoking a skunk weed spliff for the first time in 20 years, and that had, you know, getting off 500,000 hits. It just went viral, and, you know, I could be in other countries when people would shout out, "Awaken Brave, skunk weed," and it's amazing how many people you know, how many people you can reach with certain videos. It really is a phenomenon these days. And so it was very exciting. And I was discovering an enormous amount of stuff about myself. I commenced on urine therapy. That's drinking a pint of my own urine each day for 6 weeks to see what, you know, manifests. Then I was doing all different sorts of diets, and, you know, I was dabbling in kratom and different varieties of supplements. And then I first had my first excursions on Amanita muscaria and psilocybin mushrooms and DMT, and it was great. But ultimately then, when you start talking about things that you're not supposed to talk about, and the thing that got that channel struck down was me speaking about psychedelic trips and being quite, what can you say, being very overt about them, showing people how to gather and collect mushrooms and talking about the effects and smoking DMT in the pipe and this sort of thing. And so these days you can speak about these sort of things, but you can't promote really the usage of them. You can't most certainly show people how to prepare and how to partake in them, because your channel will just be taken down. And then I put other channels up, and then the COVID thing came about, and of course, you know, I was massively investigating that and telling people what the truth was, so they took that channel down, and you know, it went on, and then you know, most of us, we kind of like, we ended up doing different things, travelling to different countries and living different lives, and we're all growing up at that time, and you know, the golden era was kind of over. We all knew about you know, the archons and the paedophiles and all this sort of stuff, and so things just simmered out, and now, you know, things are pretty well simmered out. Many of the people that I was associated with were my age, and so, you know, we're at least 50, if not 60, these days, and so, you know, other things take precedent. But what I'm getting to here, people, is that what I decided I wanted to do from the get-go was use this incredible platform with its amazing reach globally to make new friends and acquaintances, and to invite people to come and chat about all this incredible, amazing stuff and share their excursions in the astral and on, you know, entheogens, psychedelics and all that. And you know, many people did that, but it took a long time, people. It took many years. I mean, probably it took 5 years initially of me just going, oh, for fuck's sake, don't you guys get what I'm saying? I'm just saying that if you take this stuff, then this will happen, or if you practice out-of-body experiences, then you can see into other dimensions and all different sorts of stuff like that. And it's no different now than it was then in relation to people being reluctant to come forward to speak about these things, because there's so many reasons why they wouldn't. If their parents got to find out, if their boss got to find out, if their family and friends found out that they are doing these illegal drugs, or they're practicing, you know, some form of necromancy, speaking with the dead, you know, going into the astral, visiting demons, and oh, good God. And so most people just feel that they don't have the freedom to do that. How many people do? How many people do you know which say, oh, I had this crazy experience, but I never told anybody about it? Simply because the fear, you daren't. And, oh, I thought I was crazy, and other people would think I'm crazy. But, you know, if you did your homework, then you'd realise that millions of people have in actual fact had these experiences. And there's nothing crazy about it at all. In actual fact, if you're talking about crazy, what's crazy when people are completely immersed in their egoic consciousness and they are fast asleep? That's what's crazy. So it's the obverse, isn't it? And that's what we find with many things about the world. The obverse is true. You invert the pentagram and you get closer to the truth. You invert all in symbolisms and you get closer to the truth. So, I was endeavouring to build up a community, and it was a good one, and we was always doing chats, and then I encouraged my viewers who were chatting with me to chat with these other people. They're from your country, they're into similar things, and then they'd start doing chats, and then we'd share those videos. And, you know, it was great. But, you know, it was my intention to make YouTube a very personal thing, which is quite a rarity because there's not too many people that are doing that. I don't know anybody else who speaks to their viewers like I do, on a very personal and no bullshit level. I tell you all things about my life, and I ask you to come to speak to me about things in your life. Have you experienced this? What about that? What about your terror? What about your fear? What about your childhood? All these different sorts of things. I used to even do therapy classes because trained in hypnotherapy and very versed in human psychology, and having the world travel, global travel and experience that I have had, reading thousands of books and all this sort of thing, then I was most certainly capable of doing that, and still am to this day. So did all that stuff, and you know, had a lot of fun. But the whole thing about me personalising my YouTube channels and speaking to my viewers like, "Oi, you, yes, I'm talking to you, I'm talking to you. Are you listening? Are you an idiot? Are you awoken? Are you a cosmic shard of God consciousness? Are you a self-realised human being?" Or and all this sort of stuff, you know, or are you, you know, a slumbering, you know, automaton? You know, are we saying all these things? Oh, we'll be presenting you, the viewer, with all of these questions, so you can look at yourself as an individual and ask yourself, am I? Because without doing that, if I just adopted the regular YouTube platform presentation, then I wouldn't be considering any of you in a personal way. And most channels aren't even interested in you in a personal way. They're not interested in listening to your personal experience. I mean, they say, "Oh, comments down below," or "like and subscribe." I mean, basically that's all they ever say, isn't it? Like and subscribe. They're not really encouraging that much your comments, and they most certainly don't go, "I'd love to hear about this and that." And if they do, I wonder what level of sincerity, and if they've got big platforms, how feasible is that? You know, how feasible is it that Russell Brand reads his comments? You know, he's got a whole team that works for him. He's far too busy for doing any of that business. In the old days of True's News, he would read the odd one out and and, you know, comment and include. And to this day, you know, he'll still read in the chat, oh, and he'll give a shout out, this, that and the other, because he knows that that pays dividends. But he doesn't get personal like I do. And to get personal is very terrifying for most people. And when I say, come and talk to me, in the past, many people did it because there was specific subject matter. You were in therapy, they were trying it out too, and you know, we'd speak about that, and then the law of attraction, we were trying that out and talking about our stories and all these different sorts of things. But these days, there's none of that going on. It's just pretty deep esoteric stuff which is terrifying to most people, and the things I've been speaking about in recent times are absolutely shocking to the whole world, let alone Christians. When I'm speaking about Ammon Hillman's channel, where he's looking into the real Jesus and asking questions, what was he doing in the graveyard at 4 AM in the morning with a naked prepubescent boy when he was arrested by the Roman guard, and they came with heavy armoury. It says, why do you come with heavy armoury? I'm not a lay stace. A lay stace is a child trafficker. Why would Jesus say he's not a child trafficker? Why would the Roman soldiers go with heavy armoury, with swords and spears? Because they knew that they were going to a child procuring, child trafficking, paedophilia gang, all on drugs and everything. And that's why Peter pulled out his sword and took off the ear of one of the soldiers. What was Peter doing with a sword? Why was Peter wielding a sword? Wasn't Peter the one who founded the Christian church? Wasn't he the one that was listening to his beloved Jesus speaking about turn the other cheek and all this sort of stuff? You know, so just because Peter was armed, and it stands to reason that all of Jesus' entourage were armed, and they were armed for a very good reason, because they needed to protect themselves from people who didn't like what they were doing. Now then, just one thing, ask yourself this question. Any of you Christians out there, if there's any still existing on this channel. What the fuck was Peter doing with a sword? Oh, he needed to protect himself because in those days, and this, that and the other. Look, if he was with Jesus, the Son of God, then he would have well known that, you know, God would have been looking out for them, and they were all humble and they were all about to turn the other cheek. So why would they need a sword? They're only going to need a sword if they're prepared to use it. If they weren't prepared to use it, and then people came to them with swords, then they would give themselves to God's will, wouldn't they? But no, that never happened, people. And so Peter founded the Christian church, you know, on the premise of all those drug-taking paedophiles, child-procuring, you know, gangs that were around in those days. So I'm speaking about this sort of stuff, and who wants to hear that? Because even if you're not a Christian, it's absolutely shocking to the core. Because even if people just think, oh, Jesus is a nice guy, I love Jesus, Jesus loves people, you know, and all that sort of thing, well, they don't want to hear that. Because where do they go from there on? Who do they cling to? Who do they beg to? Who do they pray to? Who do they worship? You know, if that facility is taken away, or, you know, a shadow of doubt is cast over it. People don't want to hear all these sort of things. And you know, people don't want to hear that we don't exist, that your children don't exist, and your loved ones don't exist. People don't want to hear that love is just a fickle fallacy of human consciousness derived out of the chemicals in our brain. People don't want to hear that. They want to believe that love is real, and it's true, we do love, and the cosmos loves us, and people love us, and all this. But you know, the fact of it, when you look very, very deep into human psychology, is that this love just falls through your fingers. And it can be traced back to chemicals alone. It's a facility which evolution has created to protect its offspring and people in the close vicinity which are needed for each other's survival. This notion and concept of love is just a survival mechanism created by chemicals. People don't want to consider that. There's so many things people don't want to consider, and all the things that I'm speaking about are just too deep and too sinister appearing, and too devilish and too terrifying, just too terrifying. And just like anything the brilliant philosophers have ever said, you know, Nietzsche in particular, when you look into the abyss will step back at you. You know, there's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide. Once you've seen this shit, that's it. And people don't want to see it, so they don't want to wake up, they want to be fast asleep. Because waking up is vastly too complicated. Because all of a sudden it throws a spanner in your works and you don't no longer believe anything. You question everything and you see everything's a lie. So anyway, I've spoken about all this sort of stuff. You know, I've got 1,000 videos. Over 1,000 videos on this channel alone. And so whenever you don't see a red bell, ping, you know, which tells you what to do, you could just look on the Awake and Brave channel and you could just scroll down and scroll down and scroll down and scroll down, and you will see all of those other videos, and some of them might just take your fickle fancy. But the vast majority of you see, if I don't put up a video, then the channel just lays dormant. Literally, it will lay dormant. It won't have a subscriber for days, it will barely have a fucking view, no comments, it just dries up. Which just tells me that you're automated, and the only way I can engage with you is if I tickle your automated response facility. And so I will put up a video which the algorithm will send you a red fucking bell. And, you know, it's shocking, isn't it? It really is shocking. It's shocking how the world is. How very easily people, you know, if they don't get a red bell, then they're distracted by other red bells. Because red bells are the paramount form of distraction in their lives. And they're not thinking about, hang on, I'm not just being led every day by these red bells. I'm just going to not listen to these fucking red bells. I'm going to turn them off. And I'm going to go on to channels that I fancy going on. I fancied looking at this one tonight. I fancied listening to this person tonight. Instead of, you know, being ping, 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 and being led along by the algorithms to lead you into a certain realm. So let me now address, after this preamble, the main crux of this video. This video I've always endeavoured to be personal. I'm a personal sort of person. I will not make videos and just put them out there and not be interested if anybody's listening to me, because otherwise what the fuck am I doing here? You know, look, I'm not always telling you to like and subscribe and to do all that sort of stuff so the channel grows, because this channel will never really fucking grow because it's got the breakers on. And with 1,000 videos, my channel has between 250 and 300,000 hits every month. Sorry, 25 or 30,000 hits a month. And so, you know, often it's like it's 1,000 views a day, and so that's quite something, isn't it? 1,000 views a day. So 1,000 views a day, and then you look at the comments, and maybe, you know, I don't know, let's just say it's 20, maybe it's 50 on some occasions, but it's still a very small percentage, isn't it? And then, you know, when you look at real engagement, if you look into the analytics and you look at the actual engagement and the skipping and all this, it's insane. You know, people don't even have the level of engagement just to sit through a video without skipping. It's like reading a book. If you keep skipping 20 pages, oh, what's in this book? This book is boring. This book's not giving me what I need. I don't have time for this book. 20 pages. Before you know, you're at the end of the book. You haven't learned a fucking single thing. You've wasted how much time it took you to read all the fucking, you know, half pages in between. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? It's completely fucking absurd. Anyway, this is how the world is. This is how the world is, and this is the world I call out, people. And I'm calling out you that you don't know yourselves, because if any of you were very, very versed in human psychology, then you would know that I couldn't possibly level that at you. And if you had, you know, been reading philosophy the past 10 years or what have you, then you would have the right to say, no, I'm pretty switched on, Aaron, to be fair. I get it, there's not many of us out here. And the odd one does that, but it's always only the odd one. But what does come forward? What come forward are mostly the numpties who've got a problem with me tweaking their ego, because everything I'm saying obviously is true. You know, because for you guys, if I'm saying to you, lots of you don't get involved, you don't give it all this, because you know what I'm doing, and you know I'm not speaking to you. You know, I'm just jousting with people, the newbies out there, just to see what they're made of. And so then, you know, I'll get a bit of an interaction, and then they would have watched 5 videos of mine or something, and then they think they know me. And I'm like, on what premise, on what basis do you think you know me? Have you watched 100 of my videos over maybe 5 years? Do you have a PhD in any of the humanities? Are you a philosopher? Are you a psychologist or psychiatrist? Who is it? How is it that you think you can judge me? But people in their infinite wisdom, stupidity, they do, don't they? And so this is the fool predominantly that I'm dealing with, that I suppose any YouTube channel deals with, because real thinking people have probably got better things to do. And if they are philosophers or psychoanalysts, then the chances are they wouldn't be watching channels like mine. You know? So who am I appealing to? Well, I do know there's some very bright sparks amongst you, but I do know also there's some very, very dim ones, and obviously the dim ones vastly outnumber the smart ones. But you know, that's humanity, and that's what we're dealing with. But you know, when I am trying to elicit from you some form of your humanisms, some life experience? Have you had religious experiences? Have you had terrifying experiences? What do you think about God and the devil? Or any number of things. I've asked a billion questions in these past 15 years, people, and there's barely ever really. I think in the past 15 years, if 100 people have attempted to vocalize or put down in writing any of the experiences that have moved them, then that's probably what it'll all amount to. And that's a very, very sad indictment, isn't it, on the human race? And of course then I look at my channel, I look at the response, and the response asserts what I feel. And I've come to know about the human being, that they are very, very dull. They are mostly sleeping automaton. And I asked the question in the recent video, are you conscious or are you unconscious? Not a single person answered that question. Not a single person thought about it and said, am I conscious? And then, looked into it a little bit more, or maybe said, what do you really mean by that? How can we prove that? How can we know? How this, how that? No, you didn't do it. And so therefore I'm assuming that 99% of you are absolutely unconscious, because you wouldn't know what I'm speaking about, you wouldn't know what I'm asking, because you go, of course I'm conscious. You've got no idea the levels of consciousness and what it means to be unconscious. You've never read a single line of Carl Jung or Sigmund Freud or any of these people, and so why would you? And so then, if I cannot elicit anything from that level of delivery and appealing to you, then I'll try something else. And I'll try rattling your cages even more. And over the years I've discovered that being belligerent and demeaning and all that instantly wakes up, metaphorically speaking, the viewers into putting something down, and it's always an emotional trigger on a very, very low level of humanisms and consciousness. And it's kind of like, good God, is that the best you've got out there? Really, is that it? We really are scraping the bottom of the barrel here, aren't we? When that's all you can elicit. And the fool would say things like, well, it's because you're not saying anything, you're rubbish and you think you're smart. No, what I'm saying is every single bit as valid as any other guru around today, and there's been a predecessor in this last fucking 100 years. There's no doubt about that. And if you wanted ever to compare what I've been saying to the Eastern mystics or the local Western gurus, even like Alan Watts. Alan Watts is almost a carbon copy of my channel, and in the beginning I never really gelled with Alan Watts. I don't know whether it was a delivery or I just didn't feel that it was meaning anything to me, it was touching me. Maybe it wasn't evolved enough, that's probably likely, but then these days I can listen to Alan Watts and I'm kind of like, well, he's been saying, when did he die? He's 73, something like that. He was saying all this stuff, when I was, less than 10 years old. And then I've been saying, exactly the same stuff. And now, when I listen to his stuff, I'm kind of like, wow, how is it that we follow the same trajectory? Even almost word for word, we're saying the same sort of things. Because when you enter into this realm of spiritual enlightenment, when you're awoken soul, then you enter into the Akasha, the spiritual realm of this information. And your consciousness is open to it, and you download it. And so we all download the same stuff, and so there are no gurus that know any more than any other. Maybe they'll know things, in a different sort of way, but ultimately it's all the same stuff, people. Whether you are a Buddhist or whether you are a Western guru of some shape or form, whether you come from any of the 200 countries around the world, the wisdom of the cosmos is the same. ultimately, human wisdom, it has to be the same, doesn't it? It's got the same root. And so ultimately when you are an awoken soul, well, you enter into the collective unconscious of humanity, and that's where you pick all your information from. So when I'm often saying in my videos that, I don't need to think about anything, I'm just channeling it. It's just, I just turn on the video and it just comes, and this is what happens every single time. I don't ever have to think about anything. I don't ever have to make any notes unless there's something specific in an orderly fashion that I want to address. And invariably that isn't the case. But when people get upset, now, they don't realise, because their perspective of what is going on is only a very narrow state and perspective of consciousness. Because, for instance, people, just picture this, bear with me. You're thinking, oh, he's being demeaning again, he's so much better than us. Well, just listen to this and see if there's any validity to what I'm saying. And ask yourself the question, did I think like that? Or did I know it all? Was I all wise and knowing? Okay, let's find out, shall we? So, when you, the viewer, are watching me, and I'm speaking to you in a very personal way, you look at me and you know I'm a human being, and you're like, oh, I know where he lives, I know where he shits, I know where he sleeps, I know what the inside of his fucking fridge looks like, and all, a lot of things about me, right? Do you ever ask the question, when you're like, who do you think you are telling me? Have you ever asked the question, does the awakened brave know me? There's a few of you out there who I've spoken to, and so you are obviously excluded from this question. But for those of you who I have never met, you don't put your real name up, you don't put your real picture up, you're absolutely terrified of doing that, and yet your minuscule state of consciousness is presuming that I know you, because I am attacking you personally, because you feel whatever I'm saying personally. And when I go you, you're like, yeah, because you've taken the bait, you've gobbled up and swallowed the lure, right? So ask yourself, where's your consciousness? It's tiny, isn't it? It's tiny. Because if your consciousness was expansive, then you'd be seeing that I am an angler. And I'm just angling. I'm just casting in whatever bait or whatever lure I feel is necessary to catch a certain fish. And if I'm looking for the very, very stupid ones and the angry ones and the low conscious ones, then, I'll just fucking plonk in a spinner and I'll just go like this. It's a shiny little flickery thing. Well, lots of predatory fish love that shit. Ooh. And then all of a sudden, there it goes, another one. That's how it is, isn't it? If I want to catch a clever fish, like, I don't know, a chub or, bottom feeding fish, something like that, then I've got to be very selective of where I put the food and what I put out there. And, it can't look like bait, it's got to look perfectly natural. Otherwise you can't catch these clever fish, because there are some fish, that are quite shrewd about things like that. And so there's some of you out there, now and again I'll catch one of you and you'll go, yeah, you caught me, you triggered me on this, but you'll realise it, you see, and then you won't get triggered again. Clever fish, stupid fish. And so, I'm just telling you the way it is, people. There is a vast difference in the levels of human consciousness. And the people who are unconscious, they've got no idea about this. And so they bite the bait and they get all angry. And then they think they can psychoanalyze me and this, that and the other. And it's just absolutely preposterous. And I say to everybody, absolutely everybody, here's my email. Send me an email stating when you are available to come and have a Google Meet, and you can tell me all about it. Not a single person ever has come. There's only ever been one person which didn't really meet that criteria, but one person came forward when he was angry and upset with me in all these 15 years. And so, well, I just rest my case. People are very, very weak. They're very, very insecure, they're terrified, they're riddled with anxieties and fears. They are very, very stupid. They know deep down that they wouldn't stand a chance of holding their own against someone like me. And so they don't come forward. But on the other hand, even people who are not offended by what I say still don't come forward. Because, well, it's kind of like, it's too exhausting. Where do we begin with talking about all this sort of esoteric stuff? It's very difficult stuff to get involved with. It's very, you see, when I'm speaking with people like I am these days, and we say, well, what subject matter? It's kind of like, oh, fucking hell. Let's just chat. And then when we chat, we don't know what we're going to chat about. We'll just go off on things. We'll just follow each other's threads. Because if you're articulate and intelligent, then we can just do this. And we can end up talking, you know, for hours about anything. So we don't need no subject matter anymore. And so it's only those that really want to have an intellectual conversation with someone that can hold a good conversation and have the time for it and are prepared to put their face up in front of the world. They're prepared to do this. And of course, this is ever increasingly less and less. Unless, of course, you know exactly what you're going to speak about because you've wrote a book and then somebody asks you on their podcast and you know that they have got, you know, thousands or millions of subscribers and you'll sell some of your books. But on, you know, a channel that's got 300 views, why is anybody interested? That's the thing, isn't it? So anyway, people, I just wanted to convey this whole thing about there's nothing that I'm saying here to you which you should be taking personally in an offensive way. You should be taking things personally in a self-evolutionary way because I'm encouraging you all to think about everything that I say in some shape or form, no matter how obscene or absurd or belligerent or offensive you may consider it to be, because you look at the reaction that these words are having within you, and if you're being, you know, vexed and if you're being stimulated in a negative way, you need to look at that. It's not me, you know. And then some people say, oh, you're anger or you're this and that. No, I'm not. I'm absolutely calm. I live a blissful life, and I'm 1000% content with my life, because if I wasn't, I would change it and I'll do something about it, because I'm the sort of person that can do that. And I've travelled around the world, 45, 50 countries, many of them many times. I've done an enormous amount of things in my life. I am the sort of person that can make changes. And so what you see here is what I have created, absolutely, particularly down to the very finest detail, to my pleasure. And what I'm doing here, well, I mean, this is my job. I said in the comment recently, I can't really say I enjoy it. You know, do I enjoy talking into the camera? Well, what's to enjoy about that? What's to enjoy about my throat getting sore? You know, is there any enjoyment in the comments I read because they're full of wisdom and, you know, knowledge? No, because invariably they're not. And when I read the comments, it's just a very mundane affair. There's the odd one in there, you know, don't be too dispirited, those of you that are, you know, prolific commenters or this and the other. You know, it's nice to see that some of you get it, but am I being inspired? Am I being enlightened by any of this? No. So why am I doing it? You know, why am I wasting my life? I'm always telling you people, the reason why I'm doing it, because intuitively I absolutely know with every bone in my body that this has been a compulsion of mine for the past 15 years, because the cosmos has blessed me in so many, many wonderful ways. And so I know that what I'm doing here is I'm paying something forward. The cosmos endows me with a realm of spirituality which is considerably more than many, many people have ever been fucking issued. It enables me to perceive a great deal about this world, but what also it enables me to do, people, is to be absolutely still and settled. And it's not just a thing about knowing that you're a light being and knowing that your spirit doesn't die. No, it's about having that absolutely comfortable, blissful human existence. And so because I have a beautiful human existence, the whole human experience is a blissful experience for me. I haven't worked in 15 years. I don't owe anything to anybody. I don't have to be anywhere or do anything ever outside of my own accord. And so that's what the cosmos has given me, and so this is what I'm giving you. And so on occasion when I'm blustering and I'm calling you all tards and this, that and the other, well, that's my ego kind of fighting against the ongoing job that I have to do, because I don't personally get anything from it. But you see, it isn't about what I personally get from it. It's about what the cosmos wants me to tell you. And whatever you get from it is your business. It's none of mine, you see. But my ego kicks in, and I want it to be my business because my throat's sore. And I've been labouring over this fucking video. What are you telling me? What are you giving me? You see? So, we're all human people. And the ego will kick in from time to time. But, most of the time it settles back and just continues with what it's supposed to be doing. Realising that, well, you make your video, Aaron, and then you just, go about the rest of your hedonistic pursuits in any given day. And so you've got all that time to live and enjoy. You only got to make at least one of these videos a day, something like that. Not too much to ask, is it? For what the cosmos has given me. No. So, anyway, finally, I want to say it again because things need reiterating. When you look at me and you think that I'm speaking personally to you, how could I possibly be speaking personally to you? This video has the potential to go out all over the world to billions of people. But if I have 300 people watch a video, how can I be addressing anyone personally? Because you're all individuals in your own right and you all perceive things in your own way. So how could I possibly have an intention to be addressing you personally? I can't, can I? So there can't be any malice in what I'm doing, even though I'm speaking in the blustering kind of, uncouth manner which you find offensive. You have to ask yourself the question, is he talking to me? What about that saying, if the hat fits, wear it? Am I triggered? Yeah, I'm triggered. Was this message for me? He must be. Because he's affecting me. His words are affecting me. But how many viewers don't get affected at all? You don't feel the weight of anything. You're perfectly secure in how you feel. And you look at me and you laugh and you find it interesting or not. But you're not triggered, are you? And that's the difference. And so I'm always saying it is my intention to trigger every single one of you, because this is the message, people. These are the messages that you need to know. When you are triggered, that's your therapy session. It's, people would spend £100 an hour to speak to somebody like me, because what you have is a facility. When you watch me in any video, is a therapy session. When I'm saying things, whatever you feel in your chest, in your stomach, in your heart, if your mind's all in a tizzy, those are the things that the therapist is leaving you to contemplate for that next week before you come back for a second session. That's how therapy works, because you lay things before people and you see what triggers them. You see what anything means to them. And when people ask therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, have you ever cured anyone? They go, no. It's not about curing, it's just about offering a facility for people to look inside to make realisations about themselves. The curing issue is just a misnomer. It's ridiculous. And so that's what I'm doing to you. So you may think that I'm being evil and obnoxious and a big head and all these different sorts of things, but it's just my style and delivery, because I'm tired of all the bullshit that's going on out there, all the rubbish people. love, meditation. Oh, for fuck's sake, really? Does anybody get anything from that fucker? Maybe some terribly broken, insecure, victims of physical and sexual abuse need that level. They can't deal with anything else because they're just they're too terrified. They can barely even look you in the eye and open their eye. They need that shit. They need Rupert Spira. But the cosmos has blessed me with a certain energy to deliver a certain message which I can receive and I can deal with. I couldn't deal with any shrinking, violent fucking idiots that are crying, every fucking second of the day because, I don't know, whatever. No. I need more of a manly response from my viewers. That's what I'm looking for. That's why I try to get rid of any of the Bible thumpers, any of the love and lighters, any of the democratic leftists, sort of liberalists. No, they most certainly are not going to find anything I'm going to be saying conducive to their expectations as far as any of this information goes. So, you have to make certain realizations, and that's what I do. I say things in many, many ways to allow you the facility to look at you. And so don't bother telling me what I am, because you don't know what I am, and evidently you don't know what I'm doing. And if you think you want to tell me what I am to enlighten me, you're never going to do that. I'm already an enlightened being. And if you don't think so, that's your prerogative. But you might just get the impression that any of this is just going to be bouncing off. It will never ever penetrate. And I'm never going to be sitting down thinking like, oh, these people are right. I know what I am. I know what I'm doing. And so you just concentrate on you. Yeah? Great. Now we know where we are, don't we?